So if you keep up with the book or the tech world at all, I'm sure you've heard that on February 26th, Amazon disabled the ability to download Kindle books directly from your Kindle and back them up on your PC. This has been a huge deal that a lot of people are talking about, but I haven't heard anyone bring up what I think is probably the most important aspect of this whole deal. So I want to talk about that today. Starting out, what I want to say is that I agree with most of what I've heard people talking about, how this whole deal is a problem. And really it goes back to this idea of how we buy digital products, right? When we're getting music from iTunes or movies from the Apple TV or books from Kindle, on all of these things, there's this underlying core problem that we're not actually buying the thing the way that we think we are buying it. We are buying a license to use that thing, a license to view it, a license to listen to it, right? And it's totally different than what we think we're doing and what it has been kind of shown to us that we're doing, right? Because we think, oh, like I bought the Kindle the same way I bought the paperback, now I should have the same rights to them, and that's simply not the case. Previous to Amazon making this change, a lot of people just weren't aware that that's actually what was happening with digital products. Most people really just had that same thing of like buying a Kindle book, same thing as buying a physical book. So one of the things that's happened with this whole deal is it's become much more of a public conversation, and a lot of people who didn't really know about it or didn't really think about it beforehand are now focusing on how we do this digital rights management stuff. And the thing that stuck out to me about this, as I've heard and seen other people's comments, is really something that's kind of best codified in a story of my own life. And there was this time when I was a hotshot driver, I was delivering hay, and it was a couple of years back, and it was when Notre Dame actually caught on fire. And what happened to me that day was I was sitting here, I'm unloading hay, I'm just having a great old grand day, talking to somebody else, like we're having a grand time. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, and they're like looking at their phone. And they're like, did you hear what's happening, to Notre Dame? And I was like, no, I don't know. And they're like, it's on fire. And immediately it was like, oh, this bad, and it was like real time while it was happening, right? And it's like this bad thing was happening. And all of a sudden my day and the day of this person that I was delivering hay to all of a sudden got way worse. Like we went from having a great day and having this wonderful conversation to like, oh man, I'm just like so sad and I'm so depressed and this is so awful. And this is like such a heavy thing, right? And when I got home later that day, I was talking to my wife and I was like, babe, you know what? Like I just realized this, like I have not thought about Notre Dame ever in my life up to that point since, when I watched The Hunchback of Notre Dame, like 10 years before that. Like in that intervening period from when I read the book, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and watched the movie, for the next like 15 years, I'd never thought once about Notre Dame. And then this day happens where Notre Dame is burning and I'm like, oh man, I just feel so sad and I'm like so worn down by it and whatever. And I stepped back from it and I was like, but I'm not actually, like, I don't actually care about Notre Dame, given away by the fact that I've never thought about it for 15 years, right? And what's happening a lot in this Kindle conversation is there's a lot of people that feel this heaviness and this weight of the whole conversation, and they feel like they need to like do something about it, and like, it's like, this is a fight we got to be in, because it's our rights to our things, and the money for the authors and stuff, and all this stuff is this whole big cause that we can be a part of, and like, I need to be a part of it, right? But when you step back from it, it's like, well, have you cared about it at all for the past like 15 years while Kindle has been a thing, right? And for most of us, the answer is like, no, we haven't. We use Kindle because it's convenient. And even people who are like tech savvy may not have even known that you could back up your Kindle books that way, right? And so what I want to talk about is just this idea that don't let it ruin your day, right? And don't let it become something that you feel like you need to make this major deal, because even though it is a big deal, it probably doesn't have to be a big deal to you, right? And even if it is a big deal for you, so like for me personally, right, this is a big deal. Like this is something like I mean, I have a channel about reading, right? I really enjoy reading on a Kindle. But also, this is something that I've known about for a long time. Like I always knew you were just getting a license to the book, right? That's not new information to me. But the fix for if this is something that you actually care about is super easy. Just start buying physical books. Like that's it. Like that's all you have to do. If you just buy physical books, everything is better, right? And like 98% of the whole problems with all the Amazon stuff and whatever is all better. It's not 100% fixed. There's still a whole bunch of stuff with the whole system and how it's done, but like that fixes the majority of these problems. And so if this is something that you find yourself, you're like, all of a sudden I'm like, I'm all torn up and I'm like having a terrible day or I'm having a terrible week about it, step back for a minute and be like, okay, but did you actually care about this before this became a thing and before this came to light, right? And if you didn't, then maybe you don't really care about it that much. And that's okay. You literally cannot care about everything that should be cared about, right? There's way too many good causes and way too many things for you to care about than you can actually afford to care about in your one limited human life. Okay. So if this isn't a major thing for you, then just let it go. You don't have to be grumpy. You don't have to be all up in arms. You don't have to be writing comments and signing petitions and doing all the stuff and whatever, right? You can just accept it and you can just move on, right? And if it is something that you care about, just start buying physical books and then you're good. And if it's not something you care about, then just keep buying on Kindle, right? Because it's convenient and it's the way of the world and it's not going away anytime soon. And no matter what you do, you're not going to be the one person that changes it, right? So if you feel convicted and like you want to change to something else, then change. But don't latch on to this cause just because it's a good cause, because you are way too limited to latch on to every good cause that is going to come across your way. Like you just can't do it. There's too many good things for you to care about. So you have to have discernment. You have to actually look at your life. You have to actually look at what you value, and you have to decide, is this a cause that is actually worth me really investing in? And if it's not, it's okay. Even if it's a good cause, it's okay. You can't be part of every good thing. You can't fix every problem in the world. Okay. So in the midst of all this, it's fine. If you want to keep using Kindle, it's fine. If you never downloaded your Kindle books before, don't pretend like it's all of a sudden this giant big deal that you're like, oh, I can't believe they would take away my ability to do the thing that I didn't even know I could do, right? Like you're just wasting your energy and you're getting distracted on things that don't matter, okay? So just as you look at it, really examine yourself, really examine your situation and how you go about all this. And like I say, if it is an important thing to you, then buy physical books. You should do it anyways, whether it's important, because it is important, whether you recognize it or not, right? It is important. I feel very strongly about this whole matter, right? But if you want to make a difference, just buy the physical books. The authors make more money. You actually own the thing. You can lend it off to somebody else and you lose a little bit of the convenience. Okay. So don't let it ruin your week. I know it's a big deal. I know it's a big, scary Amazon thing and whatever. And there is stuff that we can do and there is stuff that we should do, but don't latch onto it just because it's a good cause, right? Latch onto it because it's the right cause that you're supposed to latch onto. And if it's not, don't feel bad about it. Just move about your day and keep reading good books. Find good books to read and be reading those instead of wasting all your time being mad about a cause that you don't actually really care about at the end of the day, right? If you haven't thought about ever downloading your Kindle books, it's not really that important to you, okay? So if you need some good recommendations, here's some books somewhere up here. And otherwise, hope you guys are having a good day. I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.